Hey guys, welcome in. This is Brad with College SportsCast, and John Roberts and I are here today to do our weekend wrap-up show.
We executed.
I heard a fan offer free Dippin' Dots if I blew it.
Wanted to have some fun, execute.
I had bombs.
So stay as a team, execute, give 100%.
Dippin' Dots sound good.
All right, guys, welcome back. It's Brad with College SportsCast. This is the weekend wrap-up show. This weekend, there was only one college football game. That was it. I don't know if anybody paid much attention to it. I did watch College Game Day yesterday. There was all about Army and Navy.
One Division I college football game.
Yeah, Division I. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But clearing it up.
But that's usually what we talk about. But that's usually what we talk about is Division I. Just
throwing it out there.
Yeah. I mean, there was a great Furman game over the weekend. It was great. We could talk about that, but so we got John Roberts with me again here on the weekend wrap-up show. It's Christmas season. Log on to homefieldapparel.com. Make sure you get your stuff in now because it may not even get there if you do it now. So before Christmas. So it usually takes about 2 weeks, and today's the 10th, so time is running out. Log on, use our code CSCast for a 15% discount. I am also wearing True Victory shirt today. You can log on. They've got some bundle stuff going on. You can save a ton of money off of True Victory stuff right now and use our code TheFanboys at checkout for a 15% discount. And you can get some cool gear there as well. They're a veteran-owned sportswear company, so you can check them out as well. All right. So right off the bat here, first, I want to get to a couple of things. We got Christmas. I want to go ahead and say to you guys that on Sunday we will not have the weekend wrap-up show. John and I got to talk it over and see if we can work it out another time or not. But on Sunday, I am going to be covering a basketball game, and I'm going to be out of town. I got to travel for that. And so it's going to take me a while, and I probably will not be doing the weekend wrap-up show next Sunday. 2 Sundays from now is Christmas Eve, and 3 Sundays from now is New Year's Eve. So we've got to work all this out with the holidays and everything that's coming up. But I just want you guys to know we will be back doing this for sure on Sundays in this spot at 3 o'clock in January, once January rolls around. So, but with the holiday season, everything going on, I know John's definitely not going to be doing anything on Christmas Eve, right? I mean, not like
Who
this.
knows?
Look,
I'll be taking my 3-day weekend right here, so I'll be right in the middle of it. So who knows? We definitely could. We can work something out. We'll see.
Yeah, we got to talk about it a little bit, but I just want to let the fans know right off the bat. So,
yep.
All right. Did you watch any of the Army Navy game yesterday?
So it was on. We kind of did some things. We were kind of moving around. Our main focus during that time was watching some college. There were some college basketball games that were going on in the morning.
There was.
And
I watched several
throughout the day.
Yeah.
And our biggest focus was that. And so I did
Yeah.
see some
There
of the
was.
Army
I just
Navy
wanted
game,
to
but
throw it out there.
but the as far as the score and everything, it was very much exactly how I would have expected it to be. So I wasn't really too shocked
It was
when I
17
kept.
to 11. Yeah, Navy had the ball late, had a chance. It was just a 6-point game. It was a good game. I was watching basketball a lot too, but I will say I started the day out watching College Game Day, and it was really interesting to see some of the stories on both sides of lives lost, soldiers and their families. And like it was a really cool College Game Day, kind of put things into perspective a little bit,
Right.
if you watch it. I
Yeah.
mean, it did for me anyway, and I think it would for other people too. It kind of helped put things in perspective a little bit if you watched the College Game Day yesterday, because they told at least 3 or 4 different stories of soldiers, one of them who just lost his life like really recently in a helicopter crash.
Right.
And the family, and the family he was, it showed the whole family, showed his kids. He's got like 3 or 4 kids, and it showed his kids and everything. It was a really, like I
I think
said, it
that one
just helped
happened.
put.
I think that one happened right before the Army Navy game last year. I think this is actually the second Army
Maybe.
Navy game without.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe it was
because
right
I think
before the game last year. They
yeah,
did talk about
'cause-
last year.
yeah, because they talked about it
Yeah.
that it had. I think that they went through everything the last year, and that this year, they were, it's more of a coping thing or whatever. But last year was like
Right.
almost immediately right after it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think you're right now that I'm talking about it. But yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, it's
on
like if
that.
it's the one that I saw, because I saw it, I had it on because with the ESPN, I had one of the basketball games going, and then I had game day going on the other.
I mean, this was
the other
was
screen.
like a 37, 38-year-old man.
He's actually
The one I'm talking
39. He's 39. 39.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he was a 30s, older 30s. I mean,
Yeah.
and he was, so I mean, a lot of times in your head, you think of these guys as being 22 or, 23 or 24 or whatever,
Yeah.
But, this guy was, had a family, had kids, and, so it was a pretty touching story, to be honest with you.
Yep.
And it's just something, like I said, it helps put things in perspective sometimes, with all this sports stuff that we do, stuff we kind of argue about here.
Of course.
Little bit,
yeah.
but
everything that we're doing is very meaningless compared to what they're doing. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But Army did pull out, I think this is their second win in a row, I believe.
Something like that. They've been pretty good. They've
won
been pretty
last year.
decent the last couple of years. So, and I think they've kind of flipped the tables between them and
win, both teams
Navy.
were 5-6. Both teams were 5-6, so that win did propel them to 6-6 on the season for Army. And of course, it is probably one of the biggest rivalries in college football, and it's definitely the most unique rivalry in college football.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, so I just wanted to start there. There's really not a college football scoreboard to go through this week because as far as Division I, that was it. If you want to talk about the Furman, Montana game that was out in Montana, I mean, it was a wild game the other night, and they threw a touchdown in the back of the end zone, to tie it, taken into overtime, but Furman lost out in Montana. Montana's got one of the best FCS programs in the country. One of them. There's a few,
Right.
but they're one of them. And Furman took them to the end and lost 35-28 in overtime.
Yep. That was yeah, I was semi following along with some of the guys that we have within our network that were talking about or that were posting up about the game as it was happening.
And we within our network, within the fanboys, we have Jay that covers Furman sports.
Right.
He's one of their people that cover their sports for them. That's actually what I'm going to be doing when I said I'm covering a game. That's actually what I'm going to be doing next Sunday as well. So,
and I've done it once before earlier this season as well. So did it for football when they came into Birmingham. So I've done.
Right.
So I've done it. You're doing it now for basketball, right?
Right.
As they go to. Yep.
They go to.
So
the women's game comes to Lexington and plays at Referee on Sunday, and I'm going to be covering that.
See, there you go.
But yes, so that's the reason why we're talking a little bit about Furman. Furman was top 10, top 7, top 8 team in FCS all year long in football, and they went out to take on one of the best teams in the country and lost in overtime, 35-28. And it was a great game, up and down. Furman took the lead again, 21-20, I think, or something like that, and it was a back and forth game, and didn't pull it out at the very end. But, I think they had a season to be proud of.
Yep.
All right. So news, college sports news. There's all kinds of it. Wait a minute. Let's before I get just to the news, let's start out with this. Let's start out with the Heisman Trophy presentation and winner last night.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that'll be one of the biggest news things that we got. So, yeah, the Heisman Trophy presentation was last night. I don't know if you guys were watching it or if you were involved with watching games and sports or what, but I was kind of watching games, and I did flip over there a time or two, but I didn't watch the whole ceremony, to be honest with you.
At 7:45 was about the time that I turned it on and started looking, because it's usually about the time that they start really wrapping up to present the winner. So we saw one of the last little stories with Jaden Daniels, and then went right into, bringing all the former winners up on stage, and then
right.
The announcement, and then then you get the speech, and then you get the sit down. So we saw the last little bit, but that's usually when it comes to the Heisman Trophy.
That's how you
get it. Times I generally will go, okay, it starts at 7, it ends around 8. Let me turn it on about 7:45.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, watching the Heisman Trophy.
Unless there's somebody that I really just want to watch everything about their story that I didn't know already. If it were, say, an Auburn person, somebody just wanted to be like,
I got you.
Then otherwise, I'm going to wait and just all I want is the announcement.
Right.
Did you win? Did this person win?
I mean, Bo Nix was there. He's an excellent
I know,
guy, but you probably already
know.
Yeah,
I knew enough about it. Look, he's. His dad played back in the early 90s. He's named after Bo Jackson. I mean, he was going to go to Auburn from the beginning. Stories. Yeah, you knew.
Yeah. Yep. Well, so the winner, of course, last night was Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback. John and I on game day pick'ems on Thursday night, we decided that was one of the things we picked was our winners. And I did pick Jaden Daniels. I really wasn't surprised by that. We did have a few people in the comments who thought Michael Penix Jr. should get it. And
he got a lot of second. I mean, he got a lot of first place votes, and he was second place. Second. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he did get second, and he really wasn't that far behind, really.
No, he wasn't that far, but he wasn't like and then Bo was a very distant third.
A real distant third, and then Marvin Harrison was even more distant than that. I was looking at the numbers. I was kind of surprised that they invited Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I was too. I didn't realize.
Most of the time, the ones that they invite are fairly close in.
Yeah,
voting.
I thought that they would have just invited the 3 quarterbacks, and which ended up being 1, 2, and 3. I just thought that those were going to be the 3 guys that go, and I knew that.
And Marvin Harrison. I mean, he did place 4th, but he was a very distant 4th.
Right. And so, but I would have. I still would have probably just done 3. And then, of course, the 5th place was Jordan Travis. So
he was.
There
Jordan
was 5th.
Travis was 5th, and Jalen Milroe was 6th.
Yeah, well, I mean, again. But
everybody kind of late in the season, you started hearing, well, Milroe deserves this and Milroe deserves that. Kind of late in the season, you did. And I told everybody, it's too late. He's not going to have a shot. There's just no way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
like he did the last 6 games, then maybe. But it turned out, my only question with the Heisman this year when it came to Jaden Daniels was, is 3 losses too many?
Well, but then if you wanted to look at what his performance was in those 3 losses, that's the thing. So what's great is a guy that we've had on our show before, Chris Marler, put up a graphic that had what his performance was in those 3 losses, those specifically 3 games, the FSU game, the Ole Miss game, and the Bama game. Jaden Daniels. All right, here, let's just go. I'm going to put the LSU defense stats first that he posted. The LSU defense stats that he posted in those 3 losses were the LSU defense allowed 47.3 points per game over those 3 games. That's a lot. They gave up 569 yards per game that they allowed. That's also a lot. And they gave up, with those 569 yards per game that they allowed, they gave up 7.65 yards per play. Okay. That's a lot to overcome. Yeah. So here's what Jaden Daniels did in those 3. He was 67% completion percentage. Not terrible. That's pretty good. 326 passing yards per game. 435 total yards per game, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So not bad.
Yeah.
So
no. I mean, he played great all year.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying that in those 3 games, when they lost those 3 games, you can look at it and clearly say it was not Jaden Daniels that did it. It's the defense. It was clearly the defense. It was the defense. Right.
Yeah, it was definitely the defense.
As much as he's out there and he's putting everything on the spot. I mean, look, his what he did and what his offense could do is only so much compared to what the defense was giving up. The defense was not helping him out.
LSU's defense this year wasn't good. I mean, that's what held them back.
Right.
It sure wasn't. Yes. It wasn't it wasn't not just Daniels. It wasn't their offense. Period.
Right. And as far as losing 3, I believe Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III also lost 3 games. I think. I'm pretty certain. We can go back and take a look.
Too many of them.
No, there's not. Many. There's not. But those are ones where they were.
I think Lamar did. And you might be right on Robert Griffin too. He had a few losses too.
Correct. Because he wasn't in contention. Yeah, no, there's not many, but there is a precedence that's happened within, A, the playoff period, and B, just, pseudo recently. You know that there's a
Well,
precedence that's already been set that said that
for 2
this
weeks.
can happen.
Um,
So
yeah, I told everybody for 2 weeks that I was almost positive that Jaden Daniels is going to win. I also told people that I thought Michael Penix Jr. was going to be runner-up. I didn't go on further and say Nix was going to be third and Harvest and Harrison Jr. fourth or nothing. But I did kind of pick 1 and 2 from what they, wind up being. So
I do think the difference in 2 and 3 mostly happened with the last game. I think a lot of it had to do with the last game. And even though, like, I don't think Bo had a terrible game or anything like that, but I think it mainly went with Penix won the last game, and I think he was going to be second anyway. But I think the separation between the two was a direct result of the Pac-12 championship. So I think
Bo had a great season.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he was. He had a great year. I'm not going to take any of that away from him, but I do think that I think he deserved to have gotten the trip to New York. I don't think that, I agree with him not winning. I agree with him being third place. I also think that the separation with him and Penix happened, I think, with the voters, because a lot of it is recency. A lot of recency bias, and I would say that the last game is what separated it. I think Penix was going to be second anyway, but I think that the large gap was because he didn't win the game.
Yeah. I also think most voters wait and hold off until
right. Oh yeah, yeah. Right. And then that's just the thing that they want that they. And I think that's just the thing that they remembered, and they were like, "We're going to vote for him to be, and that's what made it probably closer for Penix as a second place one too. So, I think whoever won that Pac-12 game would have been, they would have gotten a lot of votes, and they would have made a close second, but the separation happened right there. I think if Bo would have won the game, I think the gap would not have been as big between Bo and Penix. Bo being second place and Penix being third place. I think the gap would have been real close. In fact, you may not have seen Bo be second place. He may have just made it a closer gap between him and Penix being second, and there not be as big a gap between him and Penix as a third place.
Right.
So either way, I think
yeah. I agree with you on that for sure. All right. Sports news. I'm going to get to a little bit of stuff. Dylan Gabriel yesterday announced that he is transferring to Oregon.
Yep.
From Oklahoma. He's a grad transfer. So he can go again wherever he wants because he's a grad transfer.
This is now his third school, or is he gone to 4 schools?
Third school. Third that I know of.
I know UCF, Oklahoma, and Oregon, but is there another one? Did he go to another one?
He was anywhere before UCF.
I can't remember. Did he go from UCF immediately to Oklahoma, or did he make a stop for a year?
He did. No. He went from UCF to Oklahoma,
all right,
and now to Oregon. I don't know if he was somewhere before UCF. I don't know for sure.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I thought because he got hurt, and was it him that got hurt? Or was it the previous UCF quarterback that got hurt that allowed him to play? I think he got hurt, and then somebody else.
I'm thinking he got hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought he went somewhere else before he went to Oklahoma. Like he spent a year somewhere else. But either way.
I don't know. I know for sure it's at least his third school.
Right.
And it could be four, but I know it's at least his third school. But he has 1 year remaining. This would be like his super senior year. He is going to take over for Bo Nix,
Yep.
who just did the same thing out of Oregon. And that was a big time transfer. Mississippi State landed the Baylor quarterback, who has already transferred once as well. I think Blake Shapen
Yeah.
is the quarterback. They landed him yesterday. He is transferring to Mississippi State, who just hired Jeff Lebby, who the last couple of years has been out at Oklahoma as an offensive coordinator, and was at Mississippi before that. Lebby's a pretty good offensive coordinator. We'll see how he does as a head coach at Mississippi State, but he got Blake Shapen yesterday in the transfer portal, transferring from Baylor. And I would have to look everything up, but I'm pretty sure that he started somewhere else. Blake Shapen did. I'm pretty sure.
I gotcha. Not yeah. As far as Gabriel, yeah, he was it's only the third. There wasn't a fourth one. So
Okay.
Yep.
This past week, Brock Vandegrift transferred from Georgia. He's transferring over to Kentucky. He's a former five-star.
Is he kicking or is he playing quarterback?
Brock?
Yeah.
He's gonna be playing quarterback for Kentucky.
He's not gonna be a kicker. I thought that's what he was over there. I thought he was a kicker.
He's gonna be playing quarterback for Kentucky. I can promise.
I am joking around. You know me.
I know. But he's a former five-star quarterback. He was in the 2021 class with some pretty, he was a top 5 guy quarterback. He was a top 20 overall recruit. And I just want to bring it up because this is not the type of kid that Kentucky can land out of high school. It's just not.
I think Auburn thought they had him, and then he went to Georgia.
Yeah,
they thought they had flipped him. They thought they flipped him.
He actually committed. He was high enough. He actually committed to Oklahoma.
Right.
First, like maybe his junior year in high school or something. But
Right.
He committed to Oklahoma first, and then Lincoln Riley left.
Right.
And when he left, then senior year or later on, he committed to Georgia. He's only been at one school. He's been at Georgia for 3 years. He backed up Stetson Bennett. He backed up Carson Beck. He graduated college in 3 years. He's a Georgia. He will be a Georgia graduate when he gets to Kentucky. He come in early, and he's been there 3 years now. And he's going to be a graduate. It's a big time get. This is not everybody in the country was after him.
Yep.
And I'm talking to him coming into high school. This is not the type of kid that Kentucky can land coming out of high school. Now, Stoops and his guys, coaches, has done a great job being able to try to land some top tier talent out of the portal. They also just yesterday landed a top 250 kid who went to Texas A&M, wide receiver. He was a 2023 kid, wide receiver, and they just got a commitment from him yesterday as well. And they've got 2 or 3 more on campus this weekend And it's kind of exciting if you're a Kentucky fan. You know, Kentucky this season, a lot of the fans were throwing fits because, you know, we're just not there yet. And Stoops has reached his ceiling and we're just not getting anywhere. But if you look at the job that he is doing the last 2 or 3 seasons, just in the transfer portal alone, he is greatly improving the Kentucky football program like it's never been done before.
So here's so I'm looking at the transfer portal right now. All right. And
Kentucky was number 1 yesterday.
correct. Kentucky's number 1, Louisville number 2, Colorado 3, Missouri 4, Ole Miss 5, Oregon is also tied at 5, Minnesota 7, Cal tied at 7, A&M tied at 7, Notre Dame 10. So that's the top 10 right there.
I'm going to go ahead because you're talking about the transfer portal there. I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen because that's what you're talking about. The classes so far in the transfer portal, that's what he was just talking about. Kentucky has the number 1 overall class right now.
Correct. And this is according to 24/7. So
okay, yeah,
that's what I'm looking at.
And they've got like 3 or 4 other top recruits on campus this weekend.
Right.
And they've got 2 or 3 others that are supposed to come in through the week.
So
you know,
I just saw a name in here and it made me feel really old, which would make you feel even older. Yeah. So the fourth name in this. Okay, the fourth name in this is Adam Vinatieri Jr.
Adam Vinatieri Jr. Okay.
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah.
Adam Vinatieri Jr. So.
Junior.
Yeah. So.
Not
we
Adam
watched his dad play how many years in the NFL? Because he played a lot.
Like 20, 18,
yeah,
20,
something like that. That's usually what kickers do. We've seen most of we saw most of his dad's career in the NFL, and now his son not only is in college but is actually in the transfer portal. He came in. He must have started his career at Ball State. He is now in the transfer portal for a kicker. I don't know what the market is for getting kickers out of the transfer portal, but he does have at least the genes to be a decent kicker, I would assume.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would think so. Yeah. His dad was for sure. Yeah.
Yep. So I just wanted to throw that name out there. That was on the first page, and I thought that was kind of like a wait, what? This guy. So kind of looking at go for it.
Kentucky. Like, if you're a Kentucky fan, just hold tight. I know that the last 2 years, 2 years ago, we kind of reached another mountaintop with the Citrus Bowl win, 10-3. In the last 2 years, we have kind of went stagnant. And I know that we have as a team, but results on the field we have. But I do think that they've done a great job. This past season, we had 30 blue chippers on the roster, more than we've ever had. Blue chippers are 4- and 5-star guys. And I would venture to say that probably 15 or 20 of those out of the 30 come in through the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's sounds about right.
At least half of them have come in through the transfer portal. And they're at it again. They're doing a great job. Like we just said, they are number 1 right now in bringing in class for the transfer portal. And we were top 10 last year. I can't remember exactly where we landed, but I'm pretty sure we were top 10 last year in the transfer portal.
Yep.
All right. So let's get to college basketball.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I did watch several games yesterday, parts of games. One of them being Auburn and Indiana. And I'll start with this one a little bit because, see, like what had happened is what I want to know because
What had happened
I
was
started watching. Yeah, what had happened is what I mean because I started watching the game, beginning of it, and Auburn was getting their butt kicked.
yeah.
So I flipped it. So I flipped it and started watching and going around and started watching some of the other games. And I come back late and Auburn's up like 25.
Yep.
I'm like they were down like 12 or 14 or something in the first half, early in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it started out right away. Indiana was hot, so they typically just don't hit a ton of threes, is what I've heard, and they started the game off 4 or 5 from 3, and then of course that allowed their big man, their 7-footer, to also start off really hot. So they got a 10, 12 point lead right away. And they held on to it for the first 5 to 10 minutes of game. And then Auburn started chipping away. They were hitting threes. They went on a few runs. And then they ended the first half on a major run and continued it early on in the second half. And it was one of those like 29-6 type runs. It was a huge flip. And so they ended up being, they ended up going into halftime, I think, up to they were up like maybe 18 or something like that. They had scored 52 in the first half. It was like 52 to 34 or something like that.
They went over 100, didn't they?
Yes. So they actually scored 52 in both halves.
Really?
They scored 104. They won the game 104-76, and so they scored 52. I think it was 52 to 34 after halftime, and then second half was 52 to 30 or 38, I would say. So so that ended up being 104-76.
It was one of those games that I started watching it and I thought, well, they're not playing good. I'm going to flip it and turn and watch something else.
This is the App State game all over again.
Yeah, and I flipped it and I turned and then I thought, well, it was probably an hour later or something, and I thought, well, I'll go back and see, before the game ends and see how it's going. And I flip it back, and Auburn's up like 24 or something. I was like,
and you're like, what happened? Yeah, they started hitting threes. The defense, they turned defense into offense. I mean, it was very typical.
They went from like 10 or 12 down to up 24. I was like,
so how about this? I'm going to let me go find this game. But once I find it, I'm going to give you a stat, because there is a glaring stat in this game that you're going to go, no way that happened in this game. Okay.
All right, well, while you're doing,
yeah, go for it. Keep going. Yeah, while I'm doing it.
That on college basketball. So yesterday, this is all Saturday scores. I thought the Saturday slate was a pretty good slate of basketball games yesterday. So we'll just talk about that. Mississippi State beat Tulane 106-76.
That was
Syracuse and Georgetown played each other yesterday, kind of rekindling the old Big East rivalry. Syracuse 80-68. UConn killed Arkansas Pine Bluff 101-63. Kentucky beat Penn in Philadelphia yesterday little scrappy Ivy League team. They got some good guards. They got a couple of bangers in the middle that just seem to get the job done. But they won 81-66. Tennessee beat a ranked Illinois team 86-79. Minnesota beat Florida Gulf Coast 77-57. Virginia Tech won yesterday. Valparaiso 71-50. South Carolina rebounded after their Clemson loss and beat East Carolina 68-62. They've only got the one loss. Butler in California. I don't know if you was watching this game, guys, but they went into double overtime. This game did, and Butler wins 97-90. Dayton beat Troy 82-70. Dayton is a favorite out there in their conference, and I'm not going to run through every one of these. Purdue and Alabama played a big game yesterday.
That one went back and forth a little bit, but I think they had a lot of their big guys got in trouble and foul trouble.
Yeah.
So,
and Edey kind of closed the game out, had 35 points,
right,
and beat them 92-86.
So, hey, here's the I've got the stats. So as soon as you're ready.
All right, go ahead.
Cool. So, Auburn beats Indiana 104-76. Okay. When Auburn, with this game, all right, so you would expect certain players to have big games. Who would you expect to have a big game from this? If you see 104, who are you starting to spit off to like having a big game?
Well, I mean, I know that people are going to say Holloway because
expected.
Expected, but the main one, and I think the one you're going to be talking about here is going to be Johnny Broome.
Yeah, Janai Broome. Yep,
Janai Broome. I mean, and the reason why I'm going to say him is because I happen to know that he only scored 2 points yesterday.
Exactly. So Aiden Holloway was one of the big contributors. He had 24 points, and Jalen Williams had 24 points. Those were were the two game leading scorers. So for both teams, they were the ones that were the leading scorers. Indiana, their starters were pretty much even across the board. Everybody was scoring about 10 to 15. And then they didn't get a ton of bench points. Auburn had 40 bench points as well, but they had,
yesterday too.
And their key contributors as far as, their starters, Aiden Holloway and Jalen Williams with 24 each, and then Denver Jones hit about 3 threes and contributed 12 points. But yes, Janai Broome 2 points. But he was very much, still instrumental. He had 7 overall rebounds, 5 defensive, 2 offensive. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks. He turned it over once, but he had only 2 points in 21 minutes. But that was still
especially when they made that run and come back. I thought, man, Broome only had 2 points. Like that's
correct.
So
but I think he was in foul trouble too. So, but yeah, he only had 2 points in the game, and I
watched like the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes. So something like that of the game. Yeah.
So that was the interesting stat, was that Janai Broome, one of the guys that gets talked about a lot for Auburn, only had 2 points in that game. So
I remember them saying that at the end of the broadcast, that he only had 2 points.
Yeah.
When I was watching the end of it. Kansas State beat LSU 75-60. South Florida beat Florida State yesterday 88-72. Creighton won a big game. Creighton is 10th in the country. They won by a lot, beat Central Michigan. Furman who we were talking about. This is the men's side. They beat the fire out of somebody yesterday. Just so you guys know, Western Kentucky won yesterday. Who was close to me. I'll tell you a score here that's going to surprise the crap out of everybody. DePaul, who is 1-7, beat Louisville yesterday, 75-68.
Say that one more. Say that one more time.
Kenny Payne is in trouble.
Yeah. Say it one more time. One more time.
DePaul.
Yes.
DePaul.
Yes.
Louisville.
Yes.
75-68 yesterday. Yes.
That's a beat down there. Did you one other thing? Did you happen to catch the troll job that Auburn did after they won?
No, probably not. No.
All right. So I'm gonna send you a couple of videos once we get done, and I want you to see this because it is absolutely hilarious. So there's a
well, listen, I'm a Kentucky guy. I'm not an Indiana fan. I love to see that y'all kick their ass, to be quite honest with you. I'm not I grew up in the Bobby Knight and Joe B. Hall and that era when I was a little boy, and we hated each other. I mean, hated each other. So I still remember all that. So I'm not an Indiana fan at all. So I was glad to see them kick their ass, to be quite honest.
So no, but it's this is the stuff that's funny. Indiana, some Indiana students sometime about 10 or so years ago put out a video on YouTube, like a little music video or whatever. Well, the some of the people in the Auburn jungle did the exact same thing and ended up remaking that video, and it's pretty funny. So
okay, you can send it to me.
Yeah, but it was definitely funny. So the first one I'm about to send you is this is the Indiana version, and then I'm about to send you the Auburn version. But yes, yep.
All right. So Duke beat Charlotte 80-56. Texas beat Houston Christian 77-50 yesterday and rebounded off of a loss. Arizona beat the fire out of Wisconsin yesterday. Arizona's number 1 in the country right now, and they won 98-73 over a 23rd ranked Wisconsin team yesterday, which was a big win. Houston won big, and they're ranked 3. Oklahoma beat Arkansas 79-70 yesterday. And I want to say this. I watched part of this game as well. Arkansas is so up and down. They have all the talent in the world. They really do. They're athletic. They can run, jump. I mean, the problem that Arkansas is having, I'm going to say 2 things. The big thing that Arkansas is having a problem with is they go through spells where they cannot buy a basket. I've watched them about 4 times this year, and yesterday may have been part of 5. I'm not sure. I watched several of them, and they just can't. At times, they cannot buy a basket. And as athletic as they are, and defense and everything else that they do, and then the last thing I wanted to say about that game is Eric Musselman. That dude's got some anger issues.
And it's against is it
If
against
you
the
watch-
Oklahoma coach? Because he did this 4 years ago, apparently. Did the exact same thing.
Yes, dude's got. Yes, they were showing replays of what he did like 2 or 3 years ago, and then what he did yesterday, and it's like identical. Like it's like Musselman's got some anger issues. Like something's wrong with that dude. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw him. I just saw what he was doing, and it was not it's not great. So that was kind of
Well, especially when on the broadcast they were literally showing split screen like what he did before and what he was doing today. And like it was just like, my God, dude. Like, you know, I mean, you got some issues.
yeah,
Florida
exactly.
beat Richmond 87-76. Clemson stayed undefeated, 24th rank in the country. They beat an undefeated TCU team 74-66. This Clemson team, I have watched parts of their games, of 3 of their games right now, and like they're a legit contender in the ACC. I really do think that they are. You know, you've got Duke and North Carolina and them and Miami. Miami lost yesterday, and I'll get to that in a minute. Pretty big, ugly. I'm not sure what's going on with Miami right now. I'm trying to go through here. Kansas beat Missouri 73-64 at home. St. Mary's knocked off Colorado State. Colorado State was undefeated. They beat them 64-61. St. Mary's had lost 3 or 4 games early this year, this season already, and hadn't been looking all that great. And they were picked to challenge Gonzaga in the West Coast, but they haven't looked great. Maybe this will get them on track. Xavier beat Cincinnati 84-79. BYU, who is ranked 14th and undefeated, lost at Utah 73-69, their first loss of the season yesterday. Nova beat UCLA yesterday 65-56. Good win for Villanova. Marquette beat the crap out of Notre Dame yesterday. I'm going to tell you guys right now, Marquette looks real. Like I've watched them about 3 times. That's a really impressive team. I would put them definitely as a true contender. Arizona as well. Both of those teams look really, really good. San Diego State snuck out a win. They're ranked 25th, 63-62 over UC Irvine. And late last night, Washington Huskies upset Gonzaga at home 78-73. It was the first time Gonzaga had lost a game against the Pac-12 since 2005. That's a long time ago, guys. They had won like 17 something games in a row against Pac-12 opponents. They had not lost a Pac-12 game since 2005. And they were leading in this game. I was watching this game last night. This was the late game. Didn't get over till like midnight my time, which I'm Central. A little bit past midnight, I think. But they closed out this game. Keon Brooks, ex-Kentucky player, stepped up to the free throw line, knocked down 4 big free throws at the end of the game, and they closed it out 78-73 and beat 7th-ranked Gonzaga. First time they won a top 10 game in against the top 10 in like 10 years, something like that. It had been a long time. So they are 6-3, got a couple of decent wins now, so they're trying to build a resume out at Washington. We'll see what happens. But that's going to kind of close out the college basketball scoreboard. And we don't have any polls to talk about this week. Normally we talk about the college football polls and that kind of stuff. And we don't really have that to talk about this week. But let's continue one tradition. How about the good, the bad, and the ugly?
All right.
From the college football weekend. We always do this and have a little fun with it. So let's go with that. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
So what's your good to start with?
So are we doing, or are we only doing college football right now? Because this is
No, we can integrate. So we have
Okay.
been doing this just with college football.
right.
There was really only one game yesterday, and I mean, I guess we could still use maybe the college football playoff system and a few other things, the Heisman, a few other things, and still kind of keep it college football if you want to. But if you want to integrate basketball, you can do that as well. It doesn't matter because we're going to have to integrate basketball to keep.
Yeah.
Going.
So I'm going to go with the good. I am going to be as homer as possible here. Auburn looked really good. So beating a 7-1 Indiana, and they had like, as I've said before, they had 40 bench points. Aiden Holloway, their guard, freshman guard, at 24. Jalen Williams, another forward that they wanted to take over games last year. They really wanted him to take over games last year, and he just was kind of up and down as to if he was going to kind of be the guy. Well, he had 24. They had, as I've said, the 40 bench points. 10 came from Trey Donaldson. You had 14 from KD Johnson. So there was a lot of points that were spread around, and I think that was some of the best basketball that they had played right after one of the worst offensive performances that they've played. They looked really bad against an App State team that shouldn't have been in the same gym as them, and they only lost by 5, but they should have ran them out of the gym last week. And the fact that they turned that around and were able to play a pretty complete game right there with the way that they play defense and everything else, that's the good that I've got.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I'm going to put Marquette on there with the good. I mean, this team looks legit. Like, they really, really do. These guards, they play 4 guards, and they have a big in the middle that can hold his own. And I mean, they are so scrappy on defense. They are disruptive. They're all over you. Like, this is a really impressive team with Marquette so far.
And that is Shaka Smart, right? Marquette.
Yes. Yep. It's Shaka Smart.
So think about this. Shaka Smart did really well with VCU, got the Texas job,
and didn't.
It was kind of meh. Yeah, and then it's doing really well with Marquette. Great. So is that a Texas thing, or is that a Shaka Smart at Texas?
I don't know because it's really.
That's just weird. The question I've got is it a Texas? Is Texas just that hard of a place to go in and excel?
Well,
or
Beard struggled there too.
I know.
Chris Beard struggled there too. Yeah. So I mean, this Marquette team, guys, they are for real. I mean, they really play some really good ball. I've been very impressed with the way they look so far. So, all right, we'll go with the bad. What's your bad?
So we're gonna go back to last Sunday, and we're gonna say the transparency of the CFP. because that's bad. That was terrible. I mean, you could even put it in as they're ugly too, because it was really bad. I don't understand how you can do it one way and then all of a sudden flip on a dime and do it something completely different. So I think that you could have easily have been more transparent, done it, and been consistent. And there's been no consistency with this year's iteration. I think every other year's iteration was more consistent than what this year's was doing. This year was just absolute. I think they were all over the place, and they sit there and would say head to head meant something, but then there's 4 or 5 different versions of head to head that meant nothing. So,
right. But if you're going to call it your bad, then I'll say this about it as my bad as well. I still, and the whole country has been talking about basically FSU versus Alabama or FSU, ACC versus SEC when it comes to what the College Football Playoff Committee did. I still sit here today, almost a week later, it is a week later. I still sit here today and I tell you from my perspective, I still do not understand how a one-loss Big 12 team who was 7th jumped a undefeated ACC team who was 4th in the rankings, and the 4th place team beat the 14th place team, and the 7th place team beat the 19th place team in the championships. So how I don't understand. Everybody, the whole narrative is about Alabama and the SEC, but in my opinion, they beat the number 1 team in the country. Texas moved up because
they beat Alabama.
Moved up, and they had
that's exactly what happened.
Head to head.
They put Texas in because they beat Alabama head to head. All right. And so that's why Texas was number 3. That's why they were 3.
When you're talking about transparency, in my opinion, that is where they need to step up and say, felt like we had to put Texas in there because they beat Bama.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And they did it, and they put them at 3 so that they could get Bama, in. 4. Right.
But my opinion is this. If you want to go with all of it, I'm going to tell you this. My opinion is the playoffs should have been, in my opinion, I think it should have been Michigan, Washington, FSU at 3, where they deserve to be, and Bama 4 for beating Georgia. I think that win, beating the number 1 team and winning the SEC over Texas, beating the 19th or 20th ranked team, catapult them above them. And Texas should be the one that was left out, in my opinion, not Alabama. Just want to throw that out.
I mean, either way, I mean, it should have been it should have been somebody other than FSU. You should have been looking at a one-loss team, a one-loss champion, not an undefeated champion, which is what happened.
You could put a one-loss Big 12 team in over an undefeated ACC team.
Right. So
I just don't see it.
But yeah, that definitely, that was not only the bad, it could also be the ugly. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened right there.
Yeah. So the ugly, what do you got for the ugly for this past week? I'm calling it week 15. I've been doing the weeks of the college football season. This is really week 15, I guess.
Again, I don't really have a whole lot to go on with the ugly, outside of basically just, repeating what I just did with the bad. So I don't really have an ugly this week. I mean, it's going to basically just be, the CFP and their lack of transparency.
I'm going to say this, and this is probably not near as bad as the one we just talked about with the college football playoff and all that. So I'm going to be fully aware that this is probably not near as bad as that, okay? But today just so happened, and I told you I would get to this in a minute, Miami, who was ranked 8th in the country a little over 10 days ago or so, and Kentucky beat the crap out of them in Rupp Arena. Today at home, no, I take that back. This was a showcase in Brooklyn, but they were listed as the home team. Anyway, it's a neutral site game. They're 15th in the country right now. They played Colorado, an unranked team, and got beat by almost 30 in Brooklyn on a showcase, college football showcase today. 90-63. And they've got some really good guard play and a good center and a good big guy in the middle as well. I mean, they should be a lot better team than what they're showing. So, and Texas A&M is down at halftime as well. They are ranked. They're down by 9 to Memphis. And this game is at home. This is in College Station, and they're down 38-29 to Memphis. These are ranked teams. So on this Sunday, I will tell you that both of those are kind of ugly.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that looks ugly.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to get to the week ahead. Saturday's slate of college basketball is incredible. I hate that we're not going to be able to do something if we have a weekend wrap-up show next week. We'll have to talk to John and see. But next week's college basketball slate is amazing. You got Kansas and Indiana. You got Baylor and Michigan State. You got Texas A&M and Houston. You got Clemson and Memphis. You've got Arizona plays Purdue, number 1 and number 4 right now. North Carolina and Kentucky play next weekend. Alabama plays Creighton. NC State plays Tennessee next week. I mean, and there is a ton more. LSU and Texas play each other. There is a ton of good games next Saturday as far as a college basketball slate.
Next Sunday is USC at Auburn.
Okay.
That's next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. All right. There is a bunch of very, very good basketball games to watch next Sunday. The week ahead, I do want to get to a little bit of college football stuff when we're looking at that. There are 6 bowl games that start next Saturday. On Thursday, we will pick these games for our game day pick 'em. Me and John Hammonds for sure will be on, and we will pick these games. The Myrtle Beach Bowl is Georgia Southern 6-6 versus Ohio 9-3. The New Orleans Bowl is Louisiana 6-6, Jacksonville State 8-4. I'm not sure, Mexico Cure Bowl is Appalachian State 8-5, Miami, Ohio 11-2. The New Mexico Bowl is Fresno State 8-4 versus New Mexico State 10-4. The LA Bowl is Boise State 8-5 versus UCLA 7-5, and the Independence Bowl is Texas Tech 6-6 versus California 6-6. All 6 of those games will be the first bowl games of the season. They kick off next Saturday, the 16th. I mean,
Yes, next Saturday, the 16th. Yep.
this Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, this Saturday.
Yeah.
These are actually some pretty good games for being the first
And then,
first weekend of bowl series. So,
yep. Yeah, there's 6 games. There's a few good ones in there, to pay attention to and watch next Saturday. So there will be college football. There will be 6 games to pay attention to next Saturday. And then after that, of course, they're kind of staggered in there, some through the week, some on weekends and stuff like
Right.
that. They skip on Sunday, and I think Western Kentucky plays Monday, and then it goes on, and then there's other games throughout the week that we'll look at and talk about. But for this coming week, there is 6 games, and those 6 are the games that will be played on Saturday for college football. Always exciting to have bowl games to talk about. So we'll have 6 games. If we maybe do this late Saturday night, or we could do it on Monday or something, I'm not sure.
I just
Not.
realized the Birmingham Bowl is on a Saturday. It's usually been in the middle of the week, and this year it's Saturday, December 23rd. So not this upcoming one, but the following Saturday.
The next one.
And yeah. So
yeah, there's a Monday game, a Tuesday game, a Thursday game, a Friday game, and then a bunch of Saturday games on the 23rd, the next week.
right. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the week ahead in college sports. I'm not going to sit here and get into every single game that happens as far as basketball, because there's a ton of them to talk about. I will start looking once conference seasons start and kind of pick out some of the better midweek games that we can at least mention in this and stuff. But right now, a lot of these teams, the schools are letting out and got finals and letting out, and they're off of campus. And a lot of these teams, Kentucky's only playing 1 game a week on Saturdays and stuff right now. So I don't know if everybody does that, but I know that several of them do that in college basketball right now for the next few weeks through the holidays.
Yeah, I think finals for Auburn was last week. They're usually a week before the high schools, like the local high schools around here, and so the local high schools are next week. So they would have been last week. So most of those guys should be, or at least all the students should be in town now, and or they have left the campus, and so now it is whenever you have an on-campus game, I mean, you might get some students driving back, but it's going to be very hard, especially those that live in dorms, just because those are the ones that won't be able to actually stay when they go back. But if you've got an apartment, you can easily have a place to stay overnight. But those that live in dorms, you don't. You have to move out for 3 weeks, so you don't have access to your dorm.
Right.
So that
right, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's not as many games through the week over the next few weeks until you get past New Year's, and then there will be.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Auburn. I think the SEC starts. There's usually like that last week of.
There is. There's one game. It's like
it's usually like a midweek in between. You'll have a
there it is.
so that last week of December, they because of the additional teams that have come in when they had with the 14, they actually started pushing the scheduling back, and so instead of it starting the first week of January, it actually starts the last week of December.
Yeah,
there are some other conferences that I think that do that, but it's usually like
it's
one or
always
two
started
games.
in
It's not,
January.
yeah. So it's only like one or two games. It's not like the whole slate. Like you don't have everybody starting that first week. It's just
Actually,
one or
this
two games.
past week, you talking about other conferences. Actually, this past week, there was some Big Ten matchups this past week already.
Right. Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah. So, but that is the week ahead, guys. Join us on Tuesday night. We will do our Big Fuss show on Tuesday night at 8:00, and we'll try to come up with some topics. We will probably maybe talk about a few of these games and stuff, midweek games and stuff. If there's some to talk about, we'll have to look them up and stuff this week, and do a little bit of fun show there for the Big Fuss show on Tuesday night. Catch it at 8:00. And we appreciate the thing I want to say, I guess, before we go is I appreciate you guys being on. Go to True Victory, go to truevictory.com, use the fanboys. There's some specials bundles going on right now. Also go to homefieldapparel.com. Use our code CSCast. Use our code CSCast, and I've got the True Victory on today.
I've got the home field apparel.
Yeah, and he's got the home field apparel today. So go and get your stuff. Home field apparel is CSCast. Use the code there to help us out, and we would appreciate it. Yep, it's
all down
scrolling
here
on the bottom. Yep, it is. All right. Well, we will see you guys on Tuesday night, and I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.